Hey, so you know that thing called respectability politics that's going around right now due to everything, specifically in the black community? Yeah, it's not real. There's no such thing as respectability politics. And today, I'm going to try to do my best to make this concise and straight to the point, to where in the end, it makes you think maybe you viewed a lot of stuff wrong. My name is Gus C. Foster. This is a Man Talk Monday podcast, and today it's a coherent rambling. Respectability politics. Now, you are someone who's like me, loves history, loves being black. You probably have heard this term before. If you're college educated or a member of the academy, I'm sure you have heard it referenced along with W.E.B. Du Bois, Bell Hooks, the multitude of theories on race. And is it construct? Is it an actual thing? Versus how is it applied in society's view? I'm sure if you're a member of the academy, you've heard this for a number of reasons. If you're a history buff, you've heard this because when referenced, it makes it seem as if we're talking about something from the Gilded Age, from a period of time where people spoke with a diction that was quite different from today. No, 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 no. Respectability politics. We're not talking that long ago. We're not talking 1600s, 1800s. We're not talking Reconstruction. We're not talking the rise of Black people and independence and self sufficiency in certain periods. We're not talking about that. No, 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 no. Respectability politics is early to mid 90s. A Black woman by the name of Evelyn Brooks Higginbottom wrote a book. And in the book, she basically laid out how church women and could be able to challenge the ideals of how people viewed Black folk as a whole through women. Now, mind you, again, full foundation, hard stop. Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham was a Black woman, is a Black woman, she's still living, was married to a Black man. These were two people, I believe right now at this point, she's probably in her mid 80s. So this is a woman who saw a lot. She grew up in a time where I'm sure her grandparents, grandmother were of an age at a time where some of my grandparents and grandmother saw people who were living, who at some point were enslaved. They saw the not just hoses and dogs sicked on people. They were present and living during the Tulsa bombing, some of them during the Wilmington massacre and uprising. They saw things that were horrendous, that were deplorable. At the same time, they also witnessed a lot of Black excellence that in today's world, we may not deem as excellence. They saw a lot of independent businesses. They saw Black banks, Black doctors, Black dentists. They saw Black excellence. They saw marriage rates upwards of 65, 70% strong. They also saw the absolute descent of the Black community in certain periods, specifically the 1980s, where marriage and families were torn about, where we kind of deconstructed the ability for primary breadwinners, Black men in that era, to work jobs. You had the beginning of the introduction, if you will, of the Rust Belt, the slow deindustrialization of America, that pivot more to college degrees, education. You know, it's the 80s. Go watch a movie. Everyone was a lawyer. Everyone was either a drug dealer, a cop, a lawyer, or a stockbroker. We stepped away from quote unquote traditional work. And it affected Black families, not to mention, you know, Ronald Reagan dropping crack in the communities, Contras, Sandinistas, history. But this woman saw a lot of this. And she said the way we can combat this, the perception of people, their thoughts of us, is through women. We should carry ourselves a little differently. We should move in a way where we kind of conform. And her idea of conformity, to summarize it, was in the 1990s, she said if women in the church can kind of conform and align themselves with the ideals and concepts of like Victorian, I believe it would be, let's say Victorian norms. What would be the baseline for a standard woman during these eras? How would she carry herself? How would she dress? How would she speak? How would she purport herself, even in a sexual nature? Her cleanliness, her hair, all of that. Now, the concept on its head, low key sounds crazy because it was a black woman telling you move like white women. So I get it. Totally. Like that idea was a horrible comparison, but she used it. I mean, their concept or their idea was this had to be a new form of survival. This had to be new. We had to adapt. We had to survive. We had to keep people living. And at the rate we were going, they thought collectively this isn't going to work. Maybe pivot to kind of act like white people. This at its core is where people push back with respectability politics. And this is also where I push back and say, even though it's a coined term, even though people toss it around in academia or in the academy and academics and everyone with their multitudes of degrees and unnecessary acronyms before their names, this is where I push back. You see, people would like to paint it as if respectability politics is like promulgated by the boule, and this is how we uplift our people. You know, we get rid of the gutter trash, the ghetto. We're going to get rid of all of that. Like that's the idea. That's the idea that most people have attached to it. But I would dare ask, if we've been thinking that this entire time, still less than 50 years removed of this term coming about, of and in woman utilizing this book and trying to sell the narrative that this is how we navigate current society with our people to get people to see us differently. If we've only thought that the comparison that she used initially of Victorian era white women for black women, if we've ran with that narrative for close to or close to 40 years, you're dead wrong. This is not about boule. Let's get this clear. Respectability politics is not about the boule. It's not about your Kappa Omega, your Jack and Jill. It's not about your rich. It's not about your elites. It's not about any of that. For nearly 40 years, black people have ran with the idea that these concepts are white. And again, at its root cause, yes, at its root, it was a black woman who wanted to see better for her community, and she utilized a poor comparison. But in that same time, we've also seen a descent into the multiverse of tomfoolery. We're in the summer of 2026, and the song of the summer was titled Spin That, a song glorifying scamming, theft by a woman whose close ties are with someone who is currently in prison facing a litany of charges that, by all stretch of the imagination, I mean, we're currently looking at Epstein and everyone around him and shunning them. And we want to see the files. Anyone who's associated with that level of predator needs to be investigated, needs to be locked up. Meanwhile, the song of the summer is from a woman who close and open associations with P. Diddy, a song where children are dancing to. 7 to 12 year olds talking about where all my scamming niggas at. The new song that's currently creeping in is by one of my favorite people. I find him entertaining, if nothing else. Saucy Santana. I listened and read the lyrics to Quiet on the Creek. Yeah, yeah. Again, 7, 12, 14 year olds singing this song. Now is when you listen to me, you say, that's respectability politics right there. He doesn't think that I don't think kids should be singing a song of any sexual nature. I do believe that the children who attend the private institution that is Tuskegee University, again, let's get this clear. I believe that the kids, skip that. I believe that the adults, the young adults, the ones who are taking out loans to pursue higher education at the private historical institution, Tuskegee University, I believe that those young adults should not be wearing do-rags or bonnets anywhere outside. No pajama pants, none of that. And that's not respectability politics. When I was younger, my grandmother, my mom's mom, she used the words tact and decorum. I knew what these words meant at a very young age. In my youth, I had a very good understanding of words, verbose vocabulary, if you will. Partially because my grandmother and my mother and my uncles, her brothers, used words, and these people read dictionaries. Now, that's not to brag or to boast, but it's just to say I heard the words tact and decorum regularly. Tact, decorum, class, presentable. I remember my great uncles would talk about and emphasize the importance of every time I went somewhere, make sure your hair is cut, make sure you look good. My father always telling me, hey man, dress yourself up, look nice, do this. Him doing comparisons of back in his day to mine. Oh man, when we would step out, we would wear florishams and we would do this. It wasn't all of that casual dress. Now I'm listening to all of these people who've lived and seen way more than me in periods of times where the same thing I just said, these are relatives of mine who I love dearly and some who I've lost, who they saw high periods of marriage. Some of them lived through the crack epidemic. Some of them were firsthand affected by the crack epidemic. These are Black people who've seen amazing things. My father will tell you stories about hearing, singing Said Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud when it came out at a dance party. Big afro, big afro, Africa chain around his neck. He saw Black excellence, but he's also can tell you, man, I remember the homeless issue beginning in San Francisco and people getting priced out. I remember family members telling me they remember seeing the beginning of gentrification in certain parts of Los Angeles. Remember my uncles and grandmother telling me they could remember the split when the 105 freeway came into Los Angeles and divided the community and tore up businesses. These are people who've seen these things, and in their mind, they've seen Black excellence and they've seen the descent. So in seeing the descent, they always wanted me to not be associated with it. Carry yourself with decorum, tact, class. They understood when I walked out of the house, there was a preconceived notion on who I was, how I would move, because of how I look. None of what they told me was rooted in respectability politics. Again, when my father and mother would tell me, leave this house presentable, pull your pants up, you're smart, you're educated, you read, son, you're well read. Be that. Carry yourself with decorum, class, tact. They would tell me when you go out, you're a representation of us. None of that was respectability politics. It was all just what you should do. Somewhere along the lines, our minority, and when I say our minority, I mean Black people, our minority somehow became the overwhelming majority when it comes to perception, when it comes to likeness. Gone are the days of Black identity being marriage, family, that even though that's what the numbers say, even though the marriage numbers for Black people aren't what they were in the 60s or 70s, Black people are still being married. Oh, the Charlie Kirk theory. See how that worked out. Black fathers aren't present. Statistics still tell you participate in more extracurricular activities than any other race. And that goes for married, co-parenting, cohabitating, all of them. That's the overwhelming majority. That's the 99%. But for some reason, spend that culture, quiet on the creek culture, bonnet, like this, and these things aren't new. I'm only 40. I went to school with girls who I want to step outside. I want to go outside. However my hair looks is how it looks. I want to wear my pajama pants. I want to eat hot Cheetos and a pickle. Now, here's the thing. You could do that in the comfort of your home. Hell, you could do it outside if you put on clothes. But the outside pajamas and the perpetuating of particular stereotypes, this has become the archetype, the avatar for Black people. Absent fatherhood, despite the numbers, has become the avatar for Black people. And whenever we push back against degeneracy, whenever we push back against things that make us look bad, whenever we push back against things that should be deemed, I don't want to even go as far as say indecent, but just, man, what the hell are you doing? Whenever we push back, people go to get triggered. And the automatic response is respectability politics. That's the way the white man, these white people thoughts, and it's not white people. No, 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 no. What Mrs. Higginbotham started with, we're far removed from that. We're not trying to be white. We're not trying to be Victorian. We're not trying to have any of that. What we're trying to have isn't even the respect of people who don't look like us. What we would like is the respectability or the respect of people who do look like us. Want us to be able to look at us and not go, why are you doing this? And sure, there are going to be people who are going to be offended by this. But at this point of the game, maybe we need to bring back conversations where people feel offended. Maybe we need to get back to a place where it's not me violating you because I don't want you twerking in my restaurant. Maybe we need to get back to a place where we're telling fathers the same way you should go kick it with your homeboys, you should go kick it with your son. Maybe we should go back to a place where we're telling mothers you should make sure your children are presentable when you step out of the house. Maybe we should get back to a place where we're encouraging marriage. Maybe we should get back to a place where we're telling people to do things that align with not white people, not respectability politics, but with the Black excellence that we've always had. I want you to really think about this. And this is for everybody, all of the academic, bell hooks reading, septum ring having, fraternity member in, I went to college, and all of you. I want you to really think. Your goal, your goal is to, most people's goal is to own a business. Most is to be successful, retire well. I want you to think about it this way. Is it respectability politics when you tell your children to dress appropriately? Is it respectability politics when you tell them that you don't want them to wear certain attire? Is it respectability politics when you tell them, hey, we don't carry ourselves in certain ways here. We're not loud here. Let me give you a clear example. When's the last time you went to a funeral and saw someone wearing a bonnet? When's the last time you saw somebody at a job interview with a do-rag? When is the last time that you saw someone twerking in front of their grandmother or aunt or elder in their family? Man, why would I go to a job interview with a do-rag on? Why? You think I'm gonna wear a bonnet to my grandmother's funeral? That's disrespectful. Why would I be twerking? Why would I be twerking in front of my kids? I don't want them to do that. I don't want them to follow after me. Why would I be cussing in front of my kids? I don't want them to be cussing. See how easy that is? And it's not respectability. It's not respectability politics at all. We just know right from wrong. And at this point of the game, the little bit of people who want to do wrong, somehow, because everyone talks about the marketing, the machine, these other people. Oh, they push out the worst images of us. Yeah, but we're too afraid to tell people who participate in being the worst image to sit down and shut up and straighten up and fly right. See, because respectability politics aren't a real thing. You've known what's right, what's wrong, how to dress, how to carry yourself from your grandmama, your granddaddy, your great uncles, and everyone else in your family. You know that yes is a response and not yeah. You were likely raised with yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am. And it wasn't a Southern thing. It just was a respect thing. And it wasn't kowtowing or being subservient. It just was a thing of respect. Because all of us were taught these things somewhere along the lines. Enough of us abandoned it to where everybody thinks we're the worst of the worst. But I think we're better than that. And I love y'all for that. Appreciate you for listening. God bless. Be mad. I still love y'all. Peace.